Back to our door in a everyday problem. I've got one stripped out screw. The other screws are tight. Let's see if I can get in there. This one's tight. I could probably get it out of there if I really wanted to, but that's good. This one's still tight. And this one is just sitting there spinning. I can actually pull it out. See all the dust and debris. Looks like it's been wet and grubby a little bit. Got a little paper towel. I'll just wipe that off real quick. Get any of the loose stuff off of it. So I've got my basic screw that I need to get bonded back in there. For this, I'm going to use our 5-minute epoxy with our 406. To put the screw back in with a little bit of epoxy, and you may want to take the hinge off at some point down the line. I'm just going to use a good old cooking spray. Most people have some at home. You spray that on the surface a little bit. And actually, I've got a fair amount on the paper towel. So I'm just going to take that and turn the screw into it a little bit so that gets wet out. So it has darkened up in color. So I know I've got everything coated out nicely. Now I'm going to mix up my 5-minute epoxy, which is equal portions of resin and hardener. And just doing a good thorough mix on this. Probably take 30 seconds to a minute to get it stirred up. You have to remember that it is only 5-minute epoxy, so you have a little less working time than some of the other spots we were doing on the door with our 105, 205, and so forth. And then it's a little bit more liquidy than what I would really like. So I'm going to add a little bit of 406 to it, our Colloidal Silica. Once again, it's a powder additive like our 410 microlite. This has just as more of a structural filler, sort of help with the strength. It might be a little harder surface also, so it'll bond everything together a little nicer. All right, so it's kind of creamy. It's a little bit kind of like mayonnaise per se, a little bit thicker than that, but that'll work good for this application. So I'm going to put a little bit on the threads of the screw to start out with, and just kind of filling in the grooves. I can feel the grooves with my stir stick. Not leaving a lot of extra on there, but a little bit on there. I can just set it back down on my paper towel for a moment. And I'm going to take a little bit more epoxy and work in the hole. And clean some of this excess epoxy that I have on the surface off. Then I'm going to take my screw with the epoxy on it. I'll run it in and out a couple times just by hand to kind of work some of the epoxy down inside. You could use another stick or toothpick or something like that to work it in there. I'm just going to use the screw, thread it in a little bit into the epoxy. I'm going to go to a small screwdriver just to make it easier to see. Then I'll come back with my stir stick and clean up the excess epoxy that's been squeezed out. Feels like the epoxy's starting to set up a little bit. Yep. One more little clean off the surface. And there we go. One screw in, good to go for another 10 years.